Villains are key elements in any story, responsible for challenging the heroes and making the plot even more engaging. And when it comes to creating memorable villains, DreamWorks is a true expert. From menacing figures to charismatic antagonists, the studio consistently delivers standout characters who steal the spotlight and elevate their animations to another level. In this video, I'll list the 8 villains who, in my opinion, are the most evil, terrifying, and iconic. We're also adding a twist. Those villains we didn't expect to be the bad guys, but turned out to be. So, don't forget to leave a like, and let's get started. Vincent, over the hedge. Vincent is a bear who was peacefully hibernating until RJ woke him up. And it gets worse. RJ stole all the food Vincent had stored and unintentionally destroyed it. And Vincent's stash? Only the good stuff, including those delicious chips. Furious, he threatened RJ, vowing to kill him if he didn't replace the entire stash by the time Vincent woke up again. Later, Vincent chases RJ but ends up burned and carted off by animal control. Poor guy, he just wanted a meal. Captain Shantel Dubois, Madagascar 3. Shantel is obsessed with animals, to the point of having a trophy wall of mounted animal heads she's captured over the years. Working as an animal control officer, her obsession goes far beyond professional duty. She sees Alex as her ultimate prize. Dubois isn't just cruel to animals, she doesn't care much about humans either. Her relentless determination to achieve her goals is unmatched. Although she's incredibly persistent, Alex and his friends manage to overpower her. In the end, she is tranquilized and shipped off to Madagascar, much like what happened to Alex's crew in the first film. What makes her so memorable is her unrelenting spirit and almost superhuman abilities. She can sniff out animals like a bloodhound or break through walls with sheer force. DreamWorks turned Dubois into one of the franchise's most remarkable antagonists, blending threat and humor seamlessly. Pitch Black, Rise of the Guardians. Also known as the Boogeyman, this guy was genuinely creepy. Just looking at him was enough to give you the chills. He haunted children's dreams. Come on, let the kids sleep in peace. Pitch was incredibly powerful because children believed in him. But the moment they stopped, his strength faded and he eventually became invisible to them. He's the personification of fear and darkness, and his presence was so threatening that even the Guardians were intimidated by him. Pitch isn't just a classic villain, he represents the psychological side of the battle, turning children's nightmares into his main weapon. His goal was to replace hope and belief with fear, making himself the central figure in humanity's hearts. Pitch's need for relevance and power stemmed from resentment. He was forgotten over the centuries as people stopped believing in him. This desire to matter again made him not only a terrifying figure but also a deeply complex character. He's undoubtedly one of the best villains DreamWorks has ever created. The Toad, flushed away. The Toad is a collector of all things expensive and shiny, and his initial goal was to steal the ruby that belonged to Rita. But his ultimate plan? To flood the city of Metropolis and wipe out all the little rodents with the help of his traitorous henchmen. One of his quirks that's both hilarious and menacing is his obsession with freezing rats in his giant freezer. Later, he becomes fixated on getting back the electrical master cable that Rita stole, which controls the sewer floodgates. From the start, he had one mission: to drown the city and reign supreme. In the end, Roddy outsmarts him, leaving him tangled up in pipes and completely defeated. The Toad is a perfect blend of intimidation and hilarity, embodying the trademark mix of threat and humor that Aardman and DreamWorks villains are known for. I've covered tons of DreamWorks characters in my videos, so if you want to dive deeper, binge watch my DreamWorks playlist right here on the channel. Rumpelstiltskin, Shrek Forever After. Think of a full-blown schemer, and you've got Rumpelstiltskin. He's a short, greedy, wig-loving con artist who thrives on unfair deals. This guy's got one goal: to take over the kingdom of far, far away, and he doesn't mind throwing others under the carriage to do it. He even tried to trick the king and queen by offering to save Fiona from her curse at the hefty price of their kingdom. Rumple doesn't deal fairly. Every signature he gets comes with a catch, and the person on the other end always gets the short end of the stick. That's exactly what he did to Shrek. He offered him one day to feel like a real ogre again, back when people were terrified of him. But Rumple's scam? He didn't just take any day. He took the day Shrek was born, meaning Shrek never existed, never never rescued Fiona, and left the kingdom to Rumpel's rule. Rumpelstiltskin is pure chaos wrapped in questionable fashion choices. He's a showman who craves attention, and his collection of wigs would make even a Broadway diva jealous. What makes him stand out isn't brute strength, it's his cunning mind and ability to outwit others. He's always 10 steps ahead, using his tricks to manipulate anyone in his way. Of course, his overconfidence is his downfall, because Shrek is, well, Shrek, the ultimate ogre hero who won't be outdone. Before we go to the top 3, I would like to make an honorable mention. The wolf, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. The wolf isn't your typical villain. He's not after revenge, power, or wealth. His only purpose? To claim Puss in Boots' final life. And the most chilling part? He's not evil. He's death itself. The wolf doesn't need to shout or monologue. His calm, measured demeanor is what makes him so terrifying. He knows time is on his side, and he exudes an air of inevitability that leaves even the fearless Puss trembling. What makes the wolf extraordinary isn't just his physical threat, but his psychological impact. He forces Puss to confront his mortality, leading to profound growth for the character. Living without fear doesn't mean ignoring death. It means embracing life and cherishing every moment. This philosophical depth, combined with his menacing presence, cements the wolf as one of DreamWorks' finest antagonists, a character who embodies not malice, but inevitability. Hal Stewart, Megamind. This guy is proof that superpowers in the wrong hands can spell disaster. Hal is the kind of person you'd never expect to surprise you, and yet he does. He starts as Roxanne's cameraman, harboring an unrequited crush on her. Despite his efforts, she never reciprocates, leaving Hal feeling dejected and frustrated. But then, by sheer accident, Hal gets injected with a serum that grants him superpowers. Megamind sees potential in Hal and tries to mold him into a hero. However, when even as a superhero, Hal is rejected by Roxanne, he reaches his breaking point. Tired of being overlooked, he chooses the path of vengeance, transforming into the villain Titan, targeting both Megamind and Roxanne. Titan isn't the sharpest villain around, but what he lacks in brains, he makes up for in sheer, reckless destruction. His unpredictability and impulsiveness make him dangerous. What makes Titan truly memorable is how human his flaws are. He embodies the ordinary guy who never overcame his insecurities, and when handed immense power, he uses it to fuel his ego instead of striving for something greater. In the end, Megamind outsmarts Titan, using a device to strip away his powers. Defeated, Hal is sent to prison, returning to his former self, a lesson in how power can amplify one's weaknesses. Lord Shin, Kung Fu Panda 2. Lord Shin, the villain of Kung Fu Panda 2, is widely regarded as one of the most memorable and impactful antagonists in animation, and for good reason. His story is deeply tragic, rooted in vengeance, pain, and unrelenting ambition. What sets Shin apart is the perfect balance between his emotional complexity and the way he symbolizes an internal struggle between the past and the present. He's not just a power-hungry villain. He's a character shaped by a traumatic childhood marked by rejection and his desperate, failed attempts to earn acceptance. Shin's refined, almost graceful demeanor contrasts with his ruthlessness, making him a compelling adversary. His obsession with eradicating anything that reminds him of his vulnerability drives the plot, creating a powerful emotional core to the movie story. The peacock that gave everyone trouble. This guy is downright evil. Upon hearing a prophecy that a panda would be his downfall, Shin took an extreme and merciless step. He sought vengeance against every panda he could find. Bitter, cruel, and ungrateful, Shin is a villain who spares no one. If things didn't go his way, it was over for whoever got in his path. Lord Shin embodies the type of villain who unknowingly sets himself up for failure through his own choices. What makes him so memorable isn't just his malice, but how he confronts, or fails to confront, his pain and its consequences. His defeat at the end is incredibly symbolic. His obsession with the past and his inability to face his guilt and pain ultimately lead to his undoing. By the way, I made a video detailing his full story, from his childhood to his eerie appearance after death in Kung Fu Panda 4. Click the card to check it out. Drago Bludvist, How to Train Your Dragon 2. This guy is fierce, strong, and never backs down from a fight. even with just one arm. The antagonist of How to Train Your Dragon 2 is one of DreamWorks' most intimidating villains, thanks to his commanding presence and the depth of his motivations. Drago isn't just a stereotypical evildoer bent on world domination. He's a man shattered by personal tragedy, channeling his pain into a relentless pursuit of control and vengeance. Drago lost his arm during a dragon attack where he was the sole survivor, leaving him paralyzed by fear of dragons for years. However, he later conquered that fear, not to befriend dragons like Hiccup, but to dominate and enslave them as tools for his revenge. The stark contrast between Drago and Hiccup highlights the complexity of his character. While Hiccup champions trust and partnership with dragons, Drago embodies fear, manipulation, and brute force. Cold, calculated, and cruel, Drago serves as a chilling foil to Hiccup's ideals. At the end of the second film, Drago is pulled underwater alongside the Bewilderbeast. However, he doesn't die. He's still out there somewhere. What's your favorite DreamWorks villain? Comment below! If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out my other DreamWorks content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next Cine Lovers.